Welcome to the BVTV network, coming from the UK studios of BizVision. I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. Now, I love the statement that made by my guest of today. He says, if you can't sell, then you're not in business. Marketing and sales are the backbone of a company. How true that is. And it's now started hitting home to those companies who, as soon as COVID hit us, got rid of all their sales and marketing effort. Now they're likely regretting it, as the wise ones kept building relationships and are so far ahead now. But today, marketing and sales have changed. And again, sadly, many companies haven't made the change or are slow to do so. Let's take what I'm doing to you now, video marketing, by providing you with content of value. Our online courses for customers, all fascinating stuff. So let's go talk success today with the man who delivers it. From Smart Brand Marketing, let's say hello to Tom Libelt. Hello, Tom.
Hey, how are you, Malcolm?
I'm brilliant. And great to be talking to you. Now, whereabouts are you today? Go on, let's do the travel log.
I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand right now.
Chiang Mai. Now, is that a business term place or is a resort? Tell us about Chiang Mai.
Chiang Mai is a decent-sized city, about 1.5 million, up in the mountains of Thailand. So if you think about the Thailand country, you have at the bottom all the beautiful beaches, Phuket, Krabi, all the places people like to go to. Then you have the middle area, which is Bangkok and Pattaya. And then up in the north side, you have Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, and some of the other Lamphun. So usually, for Thai people, it's like, let's go to the beach down south or let's go to the mountains up north, right? So that's like Bangkok crowd sort of gravitates one or the other because they have both. And I'm up north right now.
That's exciting.
It's not really a business town per se, but when COVID is not, around, Chiang Mai becomes a hub for people that like to work on laptops and travel the world, right? There's just a ton of them. Between September and January, there's upwards of 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people here, all from all over the world that come and just work from their laptop. So it's a pretty nice scene. And you'll be able to meet people here during that time that you just couldn't normally. People running 7, 8-figure businesses, just hanging out, talking with everybody, or normally, it's super difficult to network with those people in other countries.
Yeah. So Chiang Mai seems an attraction for what I think they call them digital nomads now, don't they? Tom, thanks for inviting us to Thailand anyways. Viewers and listeners, there's so much I want to chat to Tom about, but sadly, I have to limit my time. So I'll be talking to Tom in 3 parts. In part 1, I'll ask him, what's the state of content marketing in the world today? Is it all saturated now, or is there opportunity? In part 2, I want to ask him, how can companies of today influence prospective customers, especially those hard to reach ones? Is it, say, through online courses? And in part 3, I want to get straight to the point with him, as surely not all marketing activity, such as, say, search engine optimizing SEO, can be effective. What's wasteful, and what does he advise at Smart Brand Marketing? But first, Tom, can you briefly tell us who is Tom Libelt and how do you help people sell and market more effectively?
That's a very tough question. Who am I? I have a lot of things on my resume. I've had a record store when I was younger. I was doing hip hop in my 20s. I was a DJ. I worked in sales for a long time for big corporations. I had a coffee shop. I filmed a documentary. I had multiple online businesses, from SEO to overall marketing, helping e-commerce, Kindle book publishing. Now the courses, I've lived many lives, I feel like, already.
Right. Very good. Yeah. So what caused you to start Smart Brand Marketing then?
Around when I turned 30, I really wanted to kind of cut ties with the system, right? Which means, going to work or opening a brick and mortar business, because they all just didn't fit with my personality. I don't like being told what to do, and I don't like being in one place where other people still tell me what to do, right? So initially, for a lot of people, it's like, I hate my job, so I'm going to start a business, right? And then if you start a brick and mortar, which is what typically people do, right? Then you start realizing you have the fire department coming up and giving you, fines for not having this and that, and you got to pay all these fees to the government it's just ridiculous. Licenses. You got to remember, it was a coffee shop. That was like our first, main thing around that age. And food spoilage, food delivery. I mean, there's a lot of stuff around it. Food handling. I mean, it was not worth it, right? So I thought, what if I can separate my money making away from a location? Because in the beginning it was like, I just don't want to have it with one job because it's super risky. But then the second step was, well, I don't want to be location dependent. If they can't find me, they can't find me. That was sort of the idea, right?
I like that. Yes.
So that's where the marketing online kind of started. And look, back then I really didn't know what I was doing online. We marketed our own stuff, but my idea was to go on forums, which is always the best idea, get your business ideas from random people online. And I found that SEO back then was something that was exciting and super easy still, everyone getting into it. So I could sell already. So I went to the restaurant that I usually went to. I went to my mechanic. I went to just a couple places around. And I was like, let me rank you on Google. I'm going to get you customers and blah, blah, blah. Each one of them cut me a check before I had a website, before I had a business card, and before I even knew what I was doing.
Wow. I like that.
So that was the start.
Yeah.
And I typically start my businesses that way. I don't typically have a business plan. I have napkin math. I like napkin math to figure out if the business is going to work or not, financially.
Yeah.
But I typically don't have a lot of stuff. I don't have, huge visibility or websites or anything, big funnels. I sell the stuff and then I figure out, is it worth to make it? And am I going to be good enough at it? Because if not, I'll stop.
Yeah, I like that reality that you force upon yourself. Tom, time for part one. What's the state of content marketing in the world today? Is it saturated or is there opportunity? And what trends do you see?
I think crappy content marketing is saturated. And it's always been. It's just, a lot of barriers before kind of fell, right? Before, if you wanted to do crappy marketing on TV, you had to pay quite a lot. So a lot of people just knew it was bad. They wouldn't put it out, or they put it out and then get money back and you didn't see it again, right? Now, anyone can be a marketing person and content creator. So of course, when you have such a big audience so back when I was doing music and hip hop, we had this phrase that there's more rappers on the stage than in the audience. Because everyone could do it. It was so easy. So, no one wanted to listen to, everyone wanted to perform. And with the state of the world now, where everyone gets participation trophies, everyone is a content creator.
Yes.
So this is good and bad. It's good because by becoming just a little bit better, you can easily cut through the noise. But the bad thing is you do need to become a little bit better, which is quite difficult sometimes, right? You need to practice and practice and practice until you actually get there. But once you do, like with our company, we do very, very little content marketing. We'll put out a couple posts. We might come up on a podcast. We might do a few small things, and we are fully booked for years now.
Wow.
You're not going to see me posting much on Twitter other than shit posting. You're not going to see me much on Facebook. On LinkedIn, I might put out something once in a while, but we just don't need it. I have my message dialed in, and this is for any company. Any company can do that. You can message, dial in your message, put out a couple pieces of content per quarter, and get the customers coming to you instead of you continually reaching out to people or, being annoying on LinkedIn. Like, hey, do you want 100 extra prospects this month? No, I don't. I'm good. It's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on whether you figured out your positioning, your persona, and your messaging. And those three things are super important.
Yes.
Even with just a persona, this is why people say you have to write enough to kind of find your voice, because you need to figure out, who are you? Are you going to be the leader? Are you going to be the contrarian? Are you going to be someone that likes to stir things up? Are you going to be someone that's super helpful? Like this is not, anything that I can tell you. It's like, what is your personality like? That's the number one thing. 2 is positioning. Are you selling to B2C, B2B? Are you teaching other people like yourself what you're doing? Are you teaching, people that are just off the street, but then who? Like I was just writing about, yoga, which, we have a lot of course creators doing that. And I'm like, well, what sort of yoga are you teaching? Are you teaching yoga that makes people more flexible? Are you teaching yoga that helps people at the gym lift more? Are you teaching yoga to kids to relax them and calm them? Are you teaching yoga to people who want to be feeling younger because, older people have to, stretchability? There's so many different niches within that. So you got to figure out your positioning. And then at the end, it's your message. And the message should be super consistent and simple.
Yeah, that's extremely to the point. Carry on, please, Tom.
Yeah. So if you look on any of my profiles, it simply says, I'm the guy you go to when your online course is not selling.
Right.
I mean, that explains it. Like, I don't need to tell anyone after that, what else do I do? As soon as I see that, they're like, well, if I have a course and it's not selling, he's the guy. You see? So it's sort of an elevator speech that is super, super narrowed in.
Yeah. So do you think too many people make the mistake of content marketing, the old shotgun rather than the rifle, or chucking stuck
this is horrible. This is horrible. Yeah. So when I used to work in sales for some companies, and big ones, Nestle, I think they were from Europe and some of them, all they did is tell us, look, hit up 100 businesses every single day, tell them what you do, collect business cards, and sell. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing in the world. Because as I went in, some of them already had our products.
Yeah.
Some of them had competitions. Some of them had no need for water. They had filtrations. And I'm like, I mean, this is horrible. This is a waste of time. Complete waste of, and you don't need to do that online. It's so simple to find audiences and people searching for what you're selling. But if those other 3 things don't match, if your persona doesn't match with your positioning and your message, you can be saying things to the right person and they're just going to look by you like, that's not for me.
Yeah.
They'll ignore you.
Tom, I love that way that you're so precise about it. Before we continue to part 2, let me just remind viewers and listeners of your website URL, your website address, which is all the W's, smartbrandmarketing.com. Obviously, viewers, you can see it on the screen behind me, but for listeners, I'll just spell that out again, smartbrandmarketing.com. Tom, let's move to the second part. How can companies of today influence prospective customers, especially those hard to reach ones? Is it, say, through online courses? And what's key here in content and processes?
So at this moment, and I'm going to look through this as an investor, right? Because investors always look for companies that have audience market fit. The biggest thing everyone looks for now is whether you can pivot to online. That's the biggest thing right now. Can you actually, have you been lucky locally, because maybe all your competition sucks, and whether you can actually make that move into, what if now you can't speak with someone face to face? You can't banter back and forth and hard sell them. Is your offer good enough to actually bring people in? Because you quickly find out now that people's offers are just not that great.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's different where I can see you and I can sell you on my personality and I can kind of, hit you back with like 10 objections. You're retired, like, fine, I'll buy it. People won't do that online. They'll look at it quickly, be like, no, this is not good for me. So to interrupt people online, you have to sell them on a dream. Whatever that is, something that's already in their head. Oh, I want to be prettier. I want to be happier. I want to have more of this, more of that. We all have some kind of dream in the back. You interrupt them with that.
Yeah.
Your second thing is you teach them about how to get to that dream. So often a lot of businesses, what they can do is explain their process. The more you show people how you get from A to B, the less they want to do it themselves. right? So it's the opposite of like, oh, we have this, secret recipe. No, you don't. You don't have a secret recipe. You just have a bunch of tasks and systems and work that you do. And if you show that to people, they're very quickly going to say, you know what, this is too much. I'll purchase from you. And you sell by giving a shortcut to that dream. So I showed you what the dream is. I show you the way to get to that dream. Now, how would you like to get it quicker, easier, cheaper? It depends on how you want to sell your product.
Yeah, I think you've hit upon it. The key thing that we've always been taught in sales and marketing, that people buy through emotion, don't they?
Well, it's a bit of a transfer of emotion, but it's not always easy to do it online.
Yeah.
Like I said, if I'm selling you in person, I can very quickly figure out where you're at, match that, and then start churning that into what I'm feeling, and then you're going to match my emotion. As a good salesperson can always pull that off.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent.
But what you need to do online is you need to kind of get on the same page with that person's dream first.
Gotcha.
So you gotta kind of catch them with that. You're not really transferring emotion, but you're transferring your dream to them, and kind of meeting them halfway. So they need to have some kind of a curiosity or ambition or push towards that, right? Like, I want to be fit in the summer, and then when you say like, hey, would you like to be fit in the summer? And all of a sudden it's like, hey, are you talking to me? Because it's that same dream, right? So that's the kind of transfer you're doing online, because emotions are hard.
Yeah. And I think the essence and message there is think customer, not think yourself, not think about my product. Everybody wants it. Think customer. Yeah.
Yeah. I barely ever mention anything about my product. Even when people say like, they're used to it, they'll get on the phone with me and be like, okay, so give me your spiel. I was like, there's no spiel.
No.
Tell me about your product. My product doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with why we're on the phone. Yeah. We're on the phone to figure out your situation currently, where your situation should be, in your opinion, and how can I get you from one to the next? That's it. And if I can, then I'll tell you how and what the price is. But if I can't, we got to get off the phone. We're wasting each other's time.
Brilliant. I like it. Tom, for part 3, I want to get straight to the point with you, as I feel there's a lot of, I hope this translates in Thailand, emperor's new clothes in much of today's marketing. Surely not all marketing activity, such as some SEO, can be effective. What's wasteful, and what do you advise at Smart Brand Marketing?
Depends on the audience. It really depends on the audience. You got to know who you're going after. If they're not searching for keywords online, forget SEO. If they are in the recruitment business, maybe LinkedIn would be a much better choice. If they're trying to place products, maybe Instagram is the way. Like, look, you can make easy 5-6 figures with one channel. You don't need to be everywhere.
No.
You don't need to be everywhere. Then you just need to consider, okay, do I have more time or money? Because if I have more time, well, then do it organically. If I have more money, why don't you pay for it so you stop wasting your time? If you have a bit of both, that's a good mix, But it really depends on each person's situation. There's no such thing as, email marketing is that. No, it's not. Facebook ads don't work. No, you just can't get them to work.
Yeah.
All these channels do work if the audience is there. So, for example, if you're trying to sell health stuff, right? Like, I will help you with anxiety. I will help you with ADHD. I will help whatever. And you're trying to go on Facebook. I'm like, well, Facebook kind of banned all those topics. You're going to have a very difficult time because you won't be doing paid marketing. And at some point, you might be getting it with the fact checkers, right? Which now, so you also need to understand your channel. You can't go somewhere that doesn't want you, right? Yeah. So for a long time, crypto and ICOs were very, very prominent. A lot of scams, but very, very prominent. And they were all over YouTube, making a ton of money until YouTube banned them. No more crypto ads, right? So you got to know where your audience is, and you need to understand your channel. But remember, you only need one to make a decent amount of money. You really only need one. So when I hear people promoting things like, we're going to put you everywhere on social media. And why would you do that? That usually means you don't know what you're doing if you're telling me that. What I want to hear is I want to find one channel, one message, one audience, and get you to 6 figures. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds about correct. But this be everywhere and put your stuff, like, no, stuff doesn't transfer well everywhere. If you're doing a video podcast, maybe people won't get the same out of blog posts or little snippets on social. You might think that you're getting a lot of audiences, but maybe that's not the way. Maybe you need to advertise it differently on those. But then again, why are you doing that? You should be able to find just one channel that does work well for you. And if you're doing video marketing and it doesn't work at all, maybe it's the wrong channel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I also think, by the way, and correct me if I'm wrong here, avoid the vanity of volume. I can get you 1 million viewers or 1 million. What a load of rubbish in my mind.
I don't like any of that.
I just rather have our, focused quality rather than quantity. Yes.
Yeah. So what I always respond when I get those, I barely ever respond because they're all scams. But once in a while, I'll say, okay, you're offering me 10,000 views. Just give me one customer. I'll pay you for that. Yeah. And then, if they respond, I'm like, well, what's the problem? I mean, a normal conversion rate is 1%.
Yes.
Even if you're a crappy salesperson. So if you're getting me 10,000, why can't you give me one? I mean, it should be super simple.
Yeah.
And they all disappear.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. 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 I get this a lot from people who want to come in the channel and say, how many million viewers have you got? I said, I'm not, we're not after volume, we're after quantity. And they disappear, those ones. And I think, well, you weren't really coming to give value to my viewers and listeners anyways. So
the only way I would think of getting volume is if I want to hack myself to being an influencer. Right. So here's how you do it in 3 easy steps. How you become an influencer that's going to get speaking gigs and a lot of money, right? You find a small town and you pay them to get you to do a TEDx talk. You pay them, small town, right?
Yeah.
You got that done. Put it on YouTube. And now you do paid traffic and all this nonsense to get yourself to a couple million views on YouTube.
Yeah.
Then you pay a bit more money to get into the Forbes organization to be able to write on Forbes.
Yeah.
With a couple million views on Forbes, you are now an influencer and you can easily charge money for speaking gigs and you'll be in demand. That's a hack. That's a hack to get to that point. For actual sales and marketing, complete nonsense.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent. Tom, marketing and selling are exciting as they are productive. And as Tom says, the backbone of a company. But there's also dynamic and ever evolving. And to be really effective, you need expertise behind you. I trust our visit to chat with Tom Libelt of Smart Brand Marketing has inspired you to strive for that effectiveness. Thanks, Tom, for a great interview.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.